Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Arts for the Health of It. I'm your host, Richard Wilmore. We have a very, very special guest today that I'm super excited to have on the show today. Her name is Catherine, and she's actually one of our artists in residence here at Hearts Need Art. She's been with us for a while. She was in San Antonio, and then she moved. We're very sad about that, but she's remained a virtual component to Hearts Need Art. And the exciting news is she's now our new co-host here on the show. So I wanted to bring her on today and have her teach me something because although I work for an arts and health organization, no one said I was artistic. So I'm going to bring Catherine out here and introduce you to her. So hi, Catherine.
Hi, Richard.
How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see you.
You too. Can you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and your history with the arts?
Sure. So I am a military spouse, hence the recent move. And I am mainly a painter. So I studied painting and drawing at University of North Florida back in the day. And during that time, I did an internship with an arts and health organization called Art with a Heart.
Yes, we love them.
Yes, and I worked mainly in their pediatric oncology unit. After that, I graduated from college. I taught elementary school art for a couple of years. I've done a lot of different things in between then and now.
Like a true artist.
Yes, but it gives you range, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but I feel like part of what I've always felt drawn to is that connection between art and service. That has always made me feel really connected to art making when you can share it with somebody else in a meaningful way. So I thankfully got to work with you guys as an artist in residence in San Antonio. And I was working with adult and young adult oncology patients there. So
very lucky to have you in person when we had you and now virtual.
yes.
And I'm very happy that you agreed to come co-host the podcast with me because I think you bring years of experience and you're very smart and you're very talented and you'll ask a bunch of questions that I would never think of. So I'm glad
Thank
you're
you.
here. We're doing some art today during the episode.
Yes.
So what supplies will people need to do this
project, this thing.
Project. Yes, I don't even know what we're doing. I think that's why I don't know what to call it.
Oh, that's okay. So I'll tell you about the project and then what materials you'll need. So this, I call this project Messes and Marks because we're kind of starting with something messy and random, and then we're moving into making some more deliberate marks along your paper. And for me, these are kind of landscape inspired, but it might not be that for you. It might look like something totally different. So I used watercolors for this. We also have tempera paint here today. You may have seen.
If you make a mistake and you get tempera paint instead of watercolor paint as instructed by Catherine, you change the project.
It's all good. So
okay, good.
Watercolors or tempera paint, if that's what you have, you will need some brushes, water, and you also need a spray bottle. And paper. Did we say paper?
Well, we did now.
Yes. Okay.
Paper. Perfect. So that's it. It's all stuff that you can get at the dollar store or at the grocery store while you're there, correct?
Yes. And if you don't have a spray bottle, you could really just dip your fingers in some water and splatter it onto your paper. Yes.
Okay, yeah. Cool. So we're going to give everyone a minute to go get the supplies. If you're listening at home, not if you're driving, don't stop and look around your car. We're going to take a break and go get the supplies. And if you already have the supplies and they're handy, then you can subscribe to us on YouTube and all of the things to keep watching us every week. So we're going to take a break and then we'll come back and make this little landscape / whatever you think it's going to be.
Whether you consider yourself a musician or not, music is all around us, and it affects our everyday lives. Whether it's background music influencing our shopping habits in a store, organ music adding the vibe to a baseball game, or a playlist convincing us to keep going on that last mile of a run. I'm Mindy Peterson, host of the podcast Enhance Life with Music, where we take a holistic look at the power of music in our everyday lives through the lens of science and health, sports and entertainment, business, and education. You can find me and Enhance Life with Music at mpetersonmusic.com/podcast or wherever you get your audio. Unleash the power of music.
Medical professionals are burning out at an alarming rate. Burnout can cause health workers to feel hopeless, trapped, helpless, worthless, depressed, sleepless, and tired. By joining the Hearts Need Art Gratitude Grams program, medical staff receive a personalized email and video from a musician, an artist, or writer once a week that includes a message of thanks, an encouraging song, uplifting poem, or a simple art activity. After watching their gratitude gram, participants report feeling more hopeful, empowered, energized, and appreciated. If you are or know a healthcare worker that would like to receive free gratitude grams, please visit heartsneedart.org.
All right, we are back with Catherine, artist extraordinaire, a new co-host of Arts for the Health of It. All right, Catherine, is that okay also if while we're doing this, I ask you questions? Because I have lots of questions for you.
Yes, I will do my best.
See if we can multitask during this. So let's step number 1 here.
Okay, so you'll want to take your piece of paper. I'm working on, this is like a quarter size sheet just for the sake of time, but you can work as small or as large as you like. So you're going to take your water bottle and you're going to do like a sweeping spray across your page, something like that. If you get too much water, you can always dab it off.
Oh, this is a brand new water bottle. I don't even know if it's, oh goodness. Oh, okay, I did
take a few tries. Okay, so then you're going to, we'll use tempera paint, Richard, because that's what you have.
So sorry.
It's okay. You're going to wet your brush. So get some water on it.
What kind of brush? I have an oddly large quantity of brushes and no paint.
So I'm using, these are the sizes I have. They're kind of medium.
So like this
to
one?
Small. Yeah, you don't want to go super huge. You can use that. That works. Okay. So you're going to pick up some paint and dab it somewhere into where you sprayed.
Any color?
Any color. Whatever speaks to you today.
What color are you picking?
This is like a magenta, or maybe it's fuchsia. And I'm dabbing it into where I sprayed on my paper. And what starts to happen is the pigment starts to go wherever the water spray.
I feel like I didn't spray enough.
Yeah, maybe spray it again.
How's that?
There we go. So you're just kind of letting your materials take over a little bit here. You can use one color, or if you want to add.
Oh, I want to add
a second color, you can.
When did you start art? Like, when did you fall in love with the arts?
I probably kindergarten.
Really?
I just I remember that I always loved to draw, and I was lucky to have some really great art teachers growing up who I think they loved what they did. And so I feel like that makes a difference. That made a difference too. It made me want to do it more.
Do you remember like one of the first things you did?
I do. It was this drawing of a circus lion and it got entered into an art contest and won a prize.
Excuse me.
So that's probably why I remember it. But hey, that looks really good.
What was the prize? Do you remember?
It was just like this gold, like a medal that had a palette imprinted on it. Yeah.
They went all
fancy.
Out.
I know.
That's nice.
Okay, so Richard, if you're listening and you're not watching yet, Richard has this beautiful blue and then some yellows and oranges, right?
I used blue and orange.
Okay, so it's kind of, the pigment is just kind of moved into those, they, to me, look like veins, like little veins of water across the page. So you could let this dry for a little bit and do another one. But for the sake of time, what you would do next is take, and maybe it's a little bit smaller of a brush,
Okay.
if you have one.
Yep.
And you can look at your kind of this blob thing and just consider if it reminds you of anything, like maybe something you've seen in nature or a place that you've been. And then you can go in with another color or the same colors you've already used. And you just start to add some more deliberate marks around this. So I'm just going to go around the perimeter to start.
What are you seeing in yours? I'm curious,
This to
like what
me,
you're...
Yeah. So to me, this looks kind of like maybe a coral reef. That's what it reminds me of. What about you?
I don't know yet.
And you might not be sure. Yeah, you might not be sure, and you can. You don't
I feel
have
like I
to
want
know.
to add more color to see what comes out.
Mm-hmm. So what color are you going to add?
I'm going to add green. Let's see what happens. Catherine, can you talk a little bit about your time in spending with patients in the hospital here when you were with Hearts Need Art here in San Antonio? Like how you got involved, how you found out, and then what it was like going into the rooms and what you came across while you were working with patients.
Sure. So I got involved. I heard about Hearts Need Art through a friend. There was a job posting and she knew that I was a painter. And so she messaged me and just said, hey, can you do this? Do you do this type of work? So that's how I heard about Hearts Need Art. When I started, what was the other question? What it was like going into the hospital?
Yeah, and kind of what your experience was like, and the types of people that you were coming across, because not everybody has access to the arts while they're in a hospital, and suddenly this artist shows up with all of this stuff, and you can get many different reactions from that. From that introduction. So, what were you finding?
Yeah. So a few things. Sometimes you offer to do art with somebody and it's just a hard no. And that's okay, because I remember Stanzi saying, sometimes that's the only opportunity that somebody has to say no that day.
Yeah.
And that can be very empowering to them. Other times people would say no, but then they would want to talk for a while they would tell me about the art they had in their house. So they would say, I'm not an artist, but I collect art, or my friend is an artist. And so it was interesting to hear how in some way, I feel like everyone had some kind of connection to art in their life, even if they weren't in the practice of making it. And then I had a few interactions with patients where we're lucky to get to do window paintings for some of our patients. And so you can have conversation with them while you're working on this window painting. And there was one patient that said she didn't want to paint, but by the end of our time together, I offered for her to paint part of her window, and she agreed to do that. And it was fun to see her get so, like, she was hesitant, but then once she started painting, she said, oh, this isn't so hard. And and I think that's kind of the point, right? Is that I think we have some just ideas in our head that you have to be good at art in order to do it, or you have to have had formal training. And I think one of the great things about Hearts Need Art is it's just offering people a chance to try without any judgment or expectation. And it just gives you a chance to try it, to mess up, to
make a mess.
Yeah, to make a mess. Hence these little messes we're making. Right?
Exactly. What do you say to people who then like the people who say, I'm not an artist, I don't want to do that? What's your response to people? Because I 100% was that person
Mm-hmm.
who was like, I can't go to an art class with Hearts Need Art. Like, I'm not an artist. How would I do that?
You mean what would I say to patients
Yeah.
that said that? It depends. I think it depends on the situation, but I think it's just offering like, hey, let's make some bad art
Mhm.
together. Just finding ways to take the pressure off. And if that wasn't an option, then I would offer to make something for them. And interestingly enough, they would end up wanting something made for somebody else. So I feel like that's another way to maybe approach art making if you're afraid of doing it or you don't think you're good enough to do it, is maybe make something for someone else. Even like a handmade card can just be such a simple gesture where you're engaging yourself creatively, but it's maybe not so much about you. It's about somebody else that you care about.
Yeah. I mean, you bring that up and you think of when we were kids and all of the artwork we would bring back for our parents from school. Like, we were never making it for ourselves. We were making it for other people. And that, like, one kind of takes the pressure off. Maybe.
Yes.
Or maybe it gives you more pressure because now you have to give it to someone. But it's not even about, like, making art to be hung up on a wall. It's showing appreciation for someone. It's taking the time to do it for someone else or yourself. Like, what's the last thing you did for yourself? What's the last artwork you made? Yeah.
So I really love drawing portraits. And
really?
I recently signed up. Yeah, I recently signed up for a portrait class because I just felt like I need some direction. And so the most recent thing I've done is just to make sure I sit down and spend, even if it's a quick sketch, like just spend a few minutes putting in the time, like putting in the reps to just stay in the practice of it. And then if it's not that, then usually a daily practice is that I'm drawing with my 6-year-old with whatever's around. So it's usually markers or crayons. Yeah.
And didn't you sign up for one of our other podcast guests?
Yes, Tony. His name's Tony Swaby.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. And yeah, I'm really excited to try that and to just you kind of have to let go of what you know and just show up.
Yeah. Or let go that you don't know something.
Look at your painting, Richard.
I'm not turning into anything I think that I'm supposed to be doing, but I'm having a really good time just watching the colors blend into one another and listen to you. And it's just like watching all the different, like the way the pink can be really dark and then the way it spreads and like becomes diluted with water.
Yeah. And I think that what can be fun about this project is I think a lot of times like people open up a sketchbook or they take out a piece of blank paper and it can be intimidating.
Yeah.
Like you don't know where to start or you don't want to make the first mark because you're afraid of messing it up. And with this, you have to start random. It kind of forces you to start with a mess.
Yeah.
And then you can just dive in and see what happens.
But also it's smart, like you said, is start with a small piece of paper then.
Yeah. And
right? Like don't start with a 18 by 24 canvas. Like,
yeah.
Start with a 5 by 7.
I always have like, I don't know, like a stack of paper and just keep going, I think is one of the biggest things. To not get so stuck on like, I have to do this perfectly the first time. Like give yourself a chance to practice it.
Yeah. And my paper is perforated, so I can rip this out and throw it away if I don't like it. But what I was telling Catherine,
rip it out and frame it. I would frame that.
Or frame it. Yes, that's what I meant. But if I didn't like it or didn't think it like it doesn't have to go anywhere. I also was telling Catherine before we started that I actually have a sketch pad that I every day paint in that no one really sees, but it's all for me. So I take 15 minutes or whatever, and I just do something just to stop for a little bit, distract myself from the day, and like this is flown by talking to you, and I'm just like taking a brush and hitting a
Right.
piece of paper with it.
Right. I think
And
there's something really, there's a mindfulness aspect that can occur with art making. Like I used to teach yoga. I taught yoga for 7 or 8 years.